I'll try and do a brief summary of 3 years in 10 minutes, but don't time me. Um, we would get asked sometimes, how do you pick up your whole family and move across the country just like that, without anything, to a place you've never been, to people you've never known, to do something you're not have no idea, all of that. And the answer is simple because God keeps things simple. Ask God, do what He says. I mean, I feel like it's a duh kind of a thing, but really, ask God, do what He says. That's when we don't do those two things is when we get into trouble. When we don't ask God and we have a lot of good ideas that we want to go follow and great things we're doing for Jesus and all this kind of stuff we want to be involved in, and yet fail to ask Him first and make sure that's really what He wants us doing, then we get involved in things that, you know what, He's honestly not blessing it. And if we ask Him and He tells us and then we don't do it, Jesus told a story about that one time. Remember the father had the son, and he told the son to go clean his room, and the son said, yes, Dad, I'll be glad to clean my room. And then he didn't do it, and then the other son said, I ain't cleaning my room, old man. And then he went back, and then he cleaned his room. It was something like that. Jesus said, which one did the will of his father? Well, the one that mouthed off first and then wised up and decided to obey. So just do what He says. That's really how simple it is. So He said to move to Memphis, He said to move to Lakeland, which is right outside of Memphis, so we moved there. And He said that we were going to be a part of planting a new church, and okay. And when we got there, there was just a big, huge pause button from the Lord about just hold on, hold your horses. So we did, and we prayed, and we fasted, and God connected us with another Foursquare church plant that was going on in Memphis that He had brought pastors and leaders from California, from Mississippi, from Arizona, from Michigan, from Minnesota, and from local, all to be a part of something that God just said, I'm calling you to Memphis to plant a church. So we get to be a part of all of that, which is awesome, but none of us know what we're doing. So that's, I guess, awesome as well, but it's a lot of, what is God saying now? Okay, well, let's do that. Oh, what's He saying now? Well, let's do that. And so we're continuing to follow, and we've been involved in doing different ministry things. It's weird, I'll just personal note, it's weird coming from a place where I knew exactly what was required of me, basically everything, but within certain contexts of certain ministry things, to being in a place where I don't have that. I don't have this. God has called me to lead this thing and do this thing. All I know is God's called me to be here. He's called me to be here, to make disciples, to live my life for Him. So that's what we're doing. And along the way, He gets to then unveil the different things He wants us involved in and doing. So Denise and I have talked about it before, that it's kind of weird being at a place where I'm like, I don't know where I fit in. She's like, I know where I fit in. I fit in here and here and here and here and here. And it's like, that used to be like I would fit in all those places. And she would be more like, I don't know where I fit in. There's no place for me in the church. And now it's backwards. So apparently it's not backwards to the Lord. It's just different. So we're doing our best at different. So along the way, it was several months ago, I'm just going to say this. I feel sorry for y'all. I just do. The whole COVID thing just messed up like the whole state, and it stinks. And no offense, but I'm glad I don't live here. So yeah, we got back into things within, 3 months or so probably. Had to learn how to do something online without an iPhone because that was not working very well. And so we got things back up and running, and churches meeting and doing awesome and great, and home group things and different stuff, and but still really it feels like we're still learning what does God want the church to look like, and what does He want the different leaders doing, and we've all tried our hands at different stuff, and we're still moving pieces around. And most recently, I don't know when it was, beginning of the year or so, Denise and I both really sensed that God's bringing some clarity. He's really going to, we're going to turn the corner on some things and really get a sense of, here's what God's calling us to. Here's the season that we're stepping into. So that's all awesome. I hope it doesn't involve moving my whole family across the country again, because that was big. And my parents would be really upset because they now live like a mile away from us. And my brother-in-law and my sister, they moved, 9 minutes away from us. So obviously the solution is y'all just need to move to Memphis, and then all problems are solved. Only if God says so. Ask God, do what he says. So I have my whole immediate family is around, which is awesome. We love it. It's totally cool. Kids can ride their bikes to Granddad and Grandma's house, and that's fun. I don't know how this happened again, but we have the largest family and live in the smallest house of all the families. It was the same way in Barstow. We had the largest family and lived in the smallest house, and now we're in Memphis, and we have the largest family and the smallest house. We have plenty of room. It's awesome, but they just keep, they're large houses, and they keep buying big things. So it's awesome living where God wants you to be. But beginning of the year or so, we really sensed the Lord bringing some direction and clarity. So we were, continuing to fast, continuing to pray, and ask the Lord what that looked like. And many of you know Pastor Tom Demery from Pentecost Walk. He lives in Franklin, we're state mates now. He lives outside of Nashville, and we live in the very bottom corner of the state. So anyway, he calls me somewhat frequently when there's some kind of a prayer walk that he wants to do, and so he asked me about doing one in Texas. I guess we're finishing the Gulf Coast or something, so Denise came on vacation here, and I went walking in the blazing heat and in downpour. It was like walking through a waterfall all day long. It was awesome. Chafing was great, wonderful for Jesus. So we did that, and since then he's asked me several times about going on different walks with him, and so hey, we're doing, the whole election thing was going on, Georgia was happening, he was going to walk across the state of Georgia and pray, he was going to walk across Pennsylvania and pray, he was going to go to some different capitals, walk the border and pray, and so every time Tom would call, because he's like, okay, so you're here, and I'm just going to be unashamed about it, you're not like employed at the church necessarily, you might have some extra free time, do you want to come prayer walk? And to my reply was always, let me ask God, see what he says. And most of the time, God said no and had me focus on whatever was happening with the church. There was one time where we went through the whole COVID thing, and it made its run through our family, and that was loads of fun. But it hit us, and then we got through it, and we all survived, all 29 of our children. We did that, and then I only have 6. Okay, I know, I only have 6. But what was neat was, I don't know neat is the right word, but, okay, so we got sick, and then when we got better, then all the rest of the church leadership went down with COVID. Like all of them, all at the same time. So we got to be the ones babysitting kids and running errands and going grocery shopping and bringing meals, and we just got to do that whole thing. So that would not be the best time to go on a prayer walk. There was another time Tom asked about going on a prayer walk, and you know what? We're starting up some home ministry stuff and some things at our house, and I really think the Lord wants us to be here and focusing on that and getting that running. So in the season of change and stuff that we really sense the Lord bringing, I get another phone call from Tom again about going on a prayer walk, except this time it was a prayer walk that is an unbroken line connecting all 48 state capitals in the continental U.S. So it's all 48 of them. Then I guess we're not walking to Alaska or to Hawaii, because that would be, unless we're Jesus, walk across the Pacific. But he called about that and said, this is what we're doing, just to walk this unbroken line of unity through all the state capitals. It's going to be roughly, and at the time, he said, we thought it was going to be 14,000 miles, but it wasn't the best, it didn't work, so it's going to be 17,000 miles. And we just want to know if you would pray about joining us for a leg of that, or when you're available and that kind of thing. And so I said, you know what? Let me ask God and see what he says. And God greenlit the whole thing. So for the next 3.5 years, I am going to be taking like 2-week things to go prayer walk with Tom and Kevin for 500 something miles, and then come back home and be with family and catch up on kids and try and figure out how to homeschool in the midst of that, and then back on the road again to continue prayer walking, and then back home again, and then back on the road again, and then back home again, and take a break at the holidays, and then back on the road again. And that's what life is going to look like for the next extended season for our family, while Denise is at home and kids and church and school and all the fun things. I get to do that virtually, I guess. So that's what, am I in trouble? Did I do something? Pastor Joe's going to play a piano solo. It's going to be awesome. Everyone get ready to sing and dance. What are you doing? Oh, okay. So, okay, now I'm not supposed to look. Don't look. The man behind the mirror. I will distract. I'll do a show over here. So anyway, now you're distracting me. Okay, so I got 1 minute left. So he asked about that, and it was really one of those, God, I need to know for sure, because this is, in my heart, this is as big as taking my whole family and moving them across the country because you say so. This is you taking me away from my family for an extended, multiple extended seasons. And there are a lot of details that I would like to figure out ahead of time for how that's going to work. And the Lord was real specific about stretching my faith by trusting Him with those details. So all of the training up and raising of my kids and that might need to happen every once in a while, or those kinds of things, and the character building stuff, and those golden opportunities when you have a moment to really teach something to your kids out of a situation that just happened, or to correct a behavior, to open their eyes to something. I mean, all those things that as a dad are super, super important to me, in addition to teaching geometry and algebra and math things and all that stuff. Who's going to do that kind of stuff? And just trusting Him with that. So we are prayer walking. We started in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and oddly enough, on the day of the George Floyd, like the anniversary of his death sort of thing, which was, because God doesn't work in coincidences. God does things on purpose, but that's just how it happened to be. Oh my goodness. So we did, and we walked west all the way to Bismarck, North Dakota. Did you know that Bismarck is the capital of North Dakota? It is. And we got some neat stories along the way. Got to pray with people. It was neat to see God do stuff in churches. And I got a kick out of it. I thought about it today. We were at the Foursquare Church in Bismarck. I didn't realize it was Foursquare until I saw that Jesus Christ the same yesterday, today, and forever on the wall. Is that a Foursquare church? So I don't pay attention very well sometimes. But I looked at the floor, and they had taken a Sharpie, and they marked where the corner of the chair row went and where the corner of the chair went. I used to mark where the corner of the chair rows went. I remember doing that. So I felt very at home there. It was awesome. So we got to meet with church family. It was sweet. We then walked the next leg when we came back was from Bismarck down to Pierre, South Dakota. Did you know that Pierre is the capital of South Dakota? I'm learning all kinds of geography as we're going along this stuff. And the fact that it's really hot sometimes. We walked there and then to Rapid City. And the next one, I think, is Rapid City to Billings and up to Helena, I think. Helena's the capital of Montana. Did you know that? Okay. Homeschool dad, yay. So anyway, that's what's been going on. So along the way, we got to meet with Governor Kristi Noem from South Dakota. Got to pray with her. Oh, my goodness. She needs to be president. She's an awesome lady. Loves the Lord, submits decisions to Him, and tries to follow Him as best she can, and was so welcoming of our prayers and stuff. And then we all get done in her office, and she's like going around giving all of us hugs. I'm like, is like the governor allowed to hug people? I didn't know if that was legal or not. It was awesome. It was so sweet. Really, really cool. Meeting with church family, just getting to be involved with all kinds of different denominations, and yet it's church family wherever you go. It just is, no matter where you're at. And the neat part is walking through this unbroken line. I don't know if you noticed this or not, but the world we live in is pretty fractured, and it's pretty divided. And there is one answer to that, and it's not a political party, and it's not an ideology, and it's not a racial thing, and it's not a movement, and it is Jesus. That's it. Because without Him involved, there is no answer. There is nothing that works. We've tried it all, thrown money at it all, elected it all. It doesn't matter. You can't legislate your way out of that. You can't vote your way out of that. You can't fight your way out. The only way you can get out of that is to bring yourself before the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and let Him change your heart. That's the only way through. And so that's the message we are praying for and carrying with us as we're walking and sharing with churches, because as the church, Tom would say, as the church goes, so goes the nation. So the church needs to lead by example. We need to make it all about Him. So my suggestion would be to ask God and do what He says. All right, so all the rest of the catch-up and summary and stories you can get afterwards, because now I'm 4 minutes over. Okay.